Good morning. I hope you're all awake and ready for our last day. I'm going to be talking about a project that came to us by pure luck, and I want to connect it to the talk you heard yesterday by Subashi. It's about the notion of how can we connect and how can we support each other. And this is a tale, this is a story that happened to us and that resulted in a really impressive output that we were very pleased about. So we were at SOAS in London, and we had an outreach event, and there was this Thai researcher, Siripen, who gave a talk on her work in her revitalization work in Thailand. And ELDP and ELAR has never funded anything in Thailand. We have no stronghold in Thailand, so we didn't know much about it. We didn't know her. She was working on revitalization. And she loved the outreach event, and she came to one of our student assistants in the archive who she had met in a course and said to him, I want an archive. Okay. So Bill came to me and said, there's this Thai scholar who wants an archive. I'm like, sure. Easy to do. So we met up with her and we learned about her and a group of other women from Maidol University who had been doing language documentation since 30 years. So way before Nikolaus Himmelmann, and even longer. They had been funded through different sources like UNESCO or UN. So they've been incredibly versatile and making their work possible, but we had never heard about them. We didn't know. And this is not to say we just didn't know. So we thought we need to do something here. So I said, Vera, can you make this happen? And she did. At the same time, a grant scheme came through from the Newton Foundation that allowed a collaboration between Thailand and the UK. And when that came in, we thought, oh, now we can do this. So Vera and Siripen sat down and wrote a grant application for a one-year project to set up a digital infrastructure to safeguard and secure their data locally. And this is the story about this project. And it's really about where do we need to go from here? This is a lesson we learned where we listened and were able to act in the very moment to support through our knowledge and network with funding, with lobbying, and with advocacy, but also with content knowledge of file sizes and digitization.
So this is exactly the project that I want to show you today. We have already heard a little bit of the background, and we all know there's a lot of materials all over the world, and also in Thailand. They were collecting materials, as Mandana said, for 30 years. They started collecting audio, video recordings. Also, they had a lot of manuscripts and tapes, cassette tapes that they would like to make available to the communities. And they were working together with the communities. And there was a real need, a local need to make these materials available, but to set up an archive. And we all know it asks for a lot of infrastructure, financial support, and also institutional support. And this was not available at the moment. But the goal of making the materials available, or the wish to make the materials available, was there. And that's why we thought about creating a small scale project that could work out as a prototype. So to be able to get support from the institution later on and implement something bigger. So the project is called Archive of Languages and Cultures of Ethnic Groups of Thailand. And it was supported by the Newton Fund. It was developed during 1 year in 2019. And for us, it was like 6 months of intense work for each group, of course, divided through 1 year. So I was working in the project like 50% of my time together with the Thai team. And we were all women and very motivated and wanted to show that it is possible to do it also when we have little resources. And the goal was implementation of a local digital infrastructure for the preservation and dissemination of indigenous materials and indigenous cultures and of the ethnic groups of Thailand. Because they were approached by several communities that they were working with, and they were asking, where are the materials that you have collected? We want to have access to them. And the majority of the speakers and the teachers, because they're working a lot with teachers in these communities, couldn't come to Maidol University to grab the boxes and search for the files. So they wanted something that they could use on an everyday basis. And the whole project was designed from a bottom-up approach. So the most important thing was capacity building and empowerment. And the second thing was valorization of intangible cultural heritage. For me, at the beginning, it was an experience because we were communicating, like we had meetings every week with a small group, with a small part of the team, and then bigger meetings every 2 weeks. And I must admit, I had some cultural problems in communication at the beginning because they were on the other side. Of course, we were on Skype, and they were always saying yes, yes. And I was not used to this kind of communication. And I assumed that they were understanding and following, but it's only a matter of being polite. And then I discovered as we went along that there were some issues missing, that we had to change the communication. I had to adapt myself to understand how the work can be done and to be able to work together with them. And it was an amazing experience for me, very enriching. So we decided to go with Mukutu. And why we decided to go with Mukutu? Because it requires less technical expertise and no IT support. And why Mukutu? Because it is user friendly. It is what is it? Yes, sorry. Mukutu is a content management system, and it is a discovery for the material. So we need to think about something where we could store the materials first and then to be able to display them. It requires less technical expertise, as I said, but it enforces you to use best practices of archiving. So like, yes.
It was developed in the context of community archiving by Kim
Exactly.
Christensen in the US. Given her experience with working with communities in Australia and in North America. So that drove this incredible project that she was able to set up, where they created an infrastructure for community archives where everything can be under their control. That's the background of it. And they have set up a structure that is actually incredibly useful to be able to be localized for communities. Go online, you can use it, you can download it. They're incredibly helpful. It's an amazing team, and it's incredible what they have developed.
Yeah, and we use this platform, as Mandana said, one of the major reasons for that was we could localize it. And the entire archive or the entire digital infrastructure that we have created within this project was based on a Thai interface. So this was one of our biggest challenges, first to translate, because there were the concepts that were used on in the interface were so foreign for the work, so for the work that they were usually doing. So we struggle a lot with translations. And for me, at the end, when the archive was completely translated, I mean translated in terms of the interface, it was very difficult for me to navigate because I was doing pattern recognition. I cannot read Thai, and I was really cooperating with them. But I felt like this is how people feel when they come to our archives and they don't understand what we have there about their own languages. So it was like, for me, it was the experience the other way around. I don't know if you want to add something.
I think that was a beautiful lesson for us to learn. So because it's a Thai system, right? It's Thai writing, so we can't even read it, let alone understand it. And now think about all our Latin American colleagues that need to know English in reading and writing to be able to access their own materials.
So the whole entire project was based on empowerment, training, and capacity building. And we started with the first training. This one, I will explain what it is. We started with a training in London. So the Thai team came to London, and because they had a lot of materials to digitize, we started with a workshop on digitization of analog materials, and they learned a lot how to do it. And we introduced the basic concepts of archiving, like file naming conventions, metadata creation, standardization of formats, and also workflows for backing up the materials and so on. And we designed a workflow for archiving with Mukutu. And we started that during this plate here was designed when we were having lunch and thinking about how can we have our materials in the archive, what is the workflow that we need? Of course, this is only a joke. It's an example of how we were working together. But they were so motivated that even during lunches, we were just working and bringing ideas together. And this was very enriching for me. After that, we organized another training at Meidel University. So the first training was to train the majority, so the core team on archiving practices and digitization, and not on data collection, but digitization and archiving practices. Then we move on another step, and we wanted to train the possible users of the archive locally. So we invited to Meidel University several teachers from different communities, speakers of languages from different communities. And it was challenging because I don't speak the language, so all the training had to be translated into Thai. It took a while, so we were there 1 week, and we started with basics of data collection, because they were already collecting materials and they want to see their materials online. This was the most important thing for them. We introduced the basics of data curation from a user perspective, so which formats you need to use, how you need to describe your materials. And we presented the first instance of Mukutu that we had set it up so that they could test it. So, and all the process that we created was, we developed one step in Mukutu, we tested with the users, and they give us feedback on everything: design, color, where to put the collection, how the collection should look like, which metadata fields they want to see represented. Because for me, it was clear, I need the session description, I need information about the files, I need the size of the files. For them, it was not relevant. They wanted to have very clear descriptions of the content. They wanted to have what they called keywords. They wanted to have connections to other collections, and even connections inside the collection to teaching materials. So if you have a core recording, they wanted to have the link to another session in the same collection where you can see the teaching materials that were created out of it. So there was several logical thinkings that were not in my mind when I started the project, and I only received them when I was working together with them. The next step was then to replicate these workshops throughout Thailand. So we started at Meidel University, then the Thai team got the model for the training and went to several places in Thailand and worked together in the same way with different communities and in different regions in Thailand. Also, again, the major goal for us was to get feedback on how to use the archive and how to display the materials. So the entire archive was created based on user wishes, user design interests, and how they want to see their materials, and how they want people to perceive their materials, how they want to display their own community. This is basically what I was saying now. So they also approaches us in how can we use the collections differently? So how can I download the files and use them in a teaching environment? And that's why I want to show you one of those collections. But this is first the interface of the archive. So you can see, apart from this side, this is only the logo. Oh, yeah, even the logo was created by the user together with the users. And I had no influence on that. So I was just helping them to make these available on Mukutu, and what was technically possible. Oh, I forgot to say one thing. When we were doing this training here, this was not only a training for the participants, this was also the opportunity that I had to support the Thai team to do some lobbying at the institution and to work together with IT, to work together with some directors from the university, because we need to get support long-term to maintain the archive. And when I was at Meidel University, I was talking with all participants and all stakeholders that could support this project in the future, so that they can now continue with the archive. Moving on, so this is the archive, and you can see I had, for those of you who can read Thai, at the beginning it was nice because I could still identify what is what. now it's not possible for me, but I can tell you these are collections. So this here is one collection that the Thai team developed with support materials, so teaching materials on how to use the archive. Very simple teaching materials with help sheets on how to load the files, how to create a collection, and how to make the materials available, setting different kinds of access. And here we have collections that are highlighted, and they have now 18 collections from different 18 ethnic groups. At the moment, these are the numbers from December last year. I know that they have more materials now. They have at the moment 421 digital heritage items. That means 6 hours of video, 7 hours of audio, a lot of text, ELAN files, pictures, several pictures, and this is growing. This is growing, and they are working actively on that. I just want to highlight one collection. This is the Takbai collection. This was one participant. So Bimrapat Rongsawast was one of the participants in the workshop. He was an MA student at the time, and he said, "Oh, I want to record my grandma. She has a lot of stories, and I want to make these available for everyone because she's one of the last speakers of the language. And can I do it?" And we said, "Of course." So let's go together on this. So himself is a native speaker, and he created internal workshops for people that he wanted to ask other students also from the community to collect materials, he trained them on how to archive these materials, then later on Mukutu. And now this is the collection that he managed to create. It's very teaching oriented, it's very more for children oriented. So you have now 39 sessions on different topics. You have wordless, you have narratives, you have rituals, you have games, procedural. So there's a lot of materials out there, everything created by this person, which was a participant in the workshop and just wanted to record his grandmother and have the materials online. So this is a matter of valorization. This is implementing this archive there, or the archivable infrastructure to make the materials available to everyone, was important to get valorization at a social, cultural level, so that these languages that are spoken in Thailand get recognition as well and are visible to all of us. And self-determination, and because this is in self-representation, because the users of the archive were the ones, or the users of the speakers of the languages were the ones that were determining how it looks like. They were empowered and they could make decisions together with us. And this was the most important aspect for them and for me as well. So I wanted them to be able to control and to decide how things should look like. And at an academic level, of course, we have the materials now online, and if you are interested, you can read Thai, then you can work on the collections and get the materials. Yes, Mandana?
Okay, I'm gonna close. I open and close. I think for us, this was a massive learning experience in many different levels. There is no ELAN. There's no ELANs in there a lot, or there's no flex databases. This is not heavily linguistic. This is not research-based. The interests are not driven by the academic, but it's driven by pedagogy, you know what I mean? And it's driven by what the users and the community wants. It was an incredible learning experience. None of the materials is in ELAR. It was us, utilizing our knowledge and trying to make this happen. These group of 4 or 5 women have been working on this for many years, and the material was in boxes, on hard drives, on SD cards, and now it is there. So if we now bind back to the first day and the question of the conference, where do we need to go from here? It was a moment of Siripen being at SOAS at this very moment and talking to Bill, who then talked to me. And not often this moment happens probably for people, but maybe it's also for us to think, how can we make these moments more happen, right? And going beyond our immediate realm of interest and work packages that we have within ELAR or ELDP, for example, to be able to utilize this in a way to support on a larger scale. I want to really mention Nick Teberger does this all the time, right? He travels a lot and he works with archives in Vanuatu and so on to really help them to set things up. So we did not only do the teaching of digital things or showing the Muku tour and making that happen. We had to learn it. We had no idea how it works, but it was really straightforward and very impressively. Lobbying at the university so that the women would get supported on the long term. But also doing advocacy at the very end, we had a big conference and have to get visibility of the media so that the chancellor of the university will get interested. And I want to bind that back when Linda on the first day said we need to infiltrate and sit at the tables. So we tried to support that too. So I think that was our learning lessons, and we should think about how we can be there in that moment when we run across someone who says, I need an archive, or whatever it is. Or thank you.